Hello and welcome to this new case study or a project based on the logistic regression or the logistic algorithm. So it's a very simple but very powerful algorithm, and in this case study for the logistic regression we will going to look at the logistic regression theory, about how really logistic regression works, and then its small implementation to reflect how we basically or how the algorithm basically works when you apply it in the Python or on a big data set within the Python, and then finally its implementation in the Python along with improving the parameters, doing the parameter tuning, and making it a perfect case for building any logistic regression. Alright, so let's go ahead and see all of this in action. So first of all, let's go ahead and see a simple case of logistic regression, which will show how logistic regression work. So how logistic regression work? Think like this. Logistic regression comes from a family of linear regression, where the output is reduced from continuous output to a binary output. That means it will be between 0 and 1. Now, what do we have? If you remember, or if you know the linear regression, that's how usually the linear regression is. Let's say we have the loan amount and we have default or no default. If we don't know anything, this is how a linear equation or linear upward equation will going to look like. Based on the data points you have, it will follow that trend and give you the equation. But in scenarios where logistic regression is required, you don't have the continuous output which is from minus infinity to plus infinity. It requires an output between 0 and 1. 0 indicates here no default and 1 indicate here default. So based on the given loan amount, you want to predict whether it will result into a default, that means the customer will not pay, or customer will going to pay, and the value will be between 0 and 1. So how do we do that? Well, the pictorial representation is something like this, that instead of this entire equation or this entire continuous output, you try to restrict the output between these two parameters, 1, 1 and 0. And the way we do it is using the logit function, which is here. So with the example, generally a linear equation will look like y is equals to 5x plus 3. This is just a dummy equation which I have taken, a very simple linear equation. And let's say if we put 3 at the place of x, then the output for y will be 5 multiplied by 3 plus 3 equals to 18. 5 multiplied 3 is 15 plus 3 is 18. So probably this equation, let's say, reflect that based on the loan amount that you are giving, what will be the default or no default, but the output that you get is 18. Now 18 doesn't really tell whether this will be a default or no default, because it can be from minus infinity to plus infinity. So we need some sort of a threshold or some sort of a control mechanism which will help us understand this. Also, if you are familiar with the concept of correlation and covariance, you will basically know about that covariance basically result into a continuous output which can be from minus infinity to plus infinity, and correlation is between minus 1 and 1, which gives us a boundary, and that's why correlation is a much better metric than the covariance. So even in this case, the logistic regression, what we try is to create a boundary which will give us a value between 0 and 1. So over here we get the output as 18, and as I mentioned, it does not serve the solution to the problem where we need to identify whether a fraud has happened or not. It is a binary output 0 and 1 where value closer to 1, for example 0.8, says that the fraud will happen. So in this case, if you see, if the value is closer to 1, that means, let's say, if this value 0.8 or if this value 0.99 or something like that gives us the indication that the fraud will happen. Similarly, if the value is close to 0, let's say 0.3 or 0.2 or 0.1, gives us an indication that the fraud will not happen. So let's see how the logic regression really gets applied. So over here, it's the same equation. If you see default and no default, and we'll utilize. So here is again what I've given is a simple example of linear regression where we have the equation, a different equation, 6 minus 0.3 multiply with LA, some dummy equation, and if LA is equals to 10, which is a loan amount, is equals to 10, the output we get is basically 3. Based on this equation. Now we will going to use the logit function, which is 1 divided by 1 plus e to the power minus x. So which is used to convert the output, which is this output, into the probability, and we call it logit function. In this case, the output will be around 0.95, which is when we will substitute 3 over here in minus x. The output will be around 0.95, which will result into the default. So this way, in the back end, when you will apply the logistic regression either in the R or in the Python or any other tool, this is how the back end of the algorithm will going to function, and we can see it with the help of one simple example within the spreadsheet. Alright, so here we have a simple spreadsheet where we have the default and loan amount, and we will going to apply the linear regression on this data. So clearly I have indicated that x is this and y is this, and we want to predict the y. So based on the loan amount, we will going to predict whether it will going to default or not. Alright, so to apply this, we need to go in the data, and in the data analysis, if this is not coming to you, or this data analysis option is not coming to you, then you can go into the file, option, add-ins, and over here you need to enable the analysis tool pack add-in. Alright, so once you have this, data analysis will come, and we want to apply the regression and click OK. So in Y range we have these Y values, in X range we have these X values, and since these two ranges contains the label, that's why I have enabled the label, otherwise it will give me the wrong output. So if I click apply and click OK, this is the output that I get. As you can see, we have some coefficient and loan amount factor, which is 0.006 or coefficient. So the equation will be like this: y is equals to minus 0.387 plus 0.006 x, right? Now let's substitute the value of x with something which we want from the real-time data set. So not y, but equals to minus 0.387 plus 0.006 multiply with, let's say, 300. The new amount that we want to give is the 300. So the output we get is 1.411. Now this output is really not useful because it is going outside the boundary of the logistic regression, which is 0 and 1. So to bring it in the boundaries of logistic regression, what we will going to use is that function 1 divided by, within the bracket, 1 plus, for the exponential function which will take the power, the function is exp. So as it says, returns e raised to the power of a given number. So exp, and the given number is what? 1.41. Alright, we'll close this, and the output that you will get is 0.19. Now this output is within the boundaries of the 1 and 0, right? And this then can be used for the purpose of the probabilities or basically for the purpose of checking whether the loan will result into a default or not. Now whether it predicted right or wrong, that's a separate issue, but this is a function which in turn the algorithm will going to use within the Python. Now let's go ahead and see its implementation within the Python. Alright, so here I am in the notebook, which is the Jupyter notebook, and within this we will going to create the algorithm or the entire code which will help us do the prediction. So first of all, we will going to import the libraries pandas as PD, and I will going to import the libraries as and when they will be required, because if I import all the libraries right now, which you will usually see in any example within the book or in the blog, so sometimes I feel that it creates a lot of confusion because we really don't know when to use which library, and sometimes it's scary also, at least to me, when I started learning the machine learning, because I was like, so many libraries, how will I going to manage with that, and how I will going to remember that? But after learning it properly, it actually made sense. And what I felt is, probably if I'm explaining it to someone, then I should only use the libraries when it is required, so it is much more clear. Alright, so if I go and execute that, I will going to use the data equals to pd.read_csv, because our file is in CSV, and let me get the path of the file which I have in my notebook, the notepad, and this is the path where I have, this is nothing but the mobile fraud data set, and it's a huge data set, so it will going to take probably a minute or so, so I will going to pause it. Alright, so it took 1 minute and 20 seconds to load the data, and if you want to check this data set, we will use the info command. So it has a lot of columns like step, type, amount, name, orange, what is the old balance, what is the new balance, so on and so forth. And this is the main column is fraud, where we will going to check whether the fraud will going to happen based on the various columns that we have. And based on the information that I have about this data set, some of the columns like name, origination and name destination is really not required. Similarly, is flagged fraud is nothing but the SME's observation, so we will not going to use it, but the actual values that are basically part of this data set. Now let's check how many fraud values are over there. So data dot is fraud dot value underscore counts. So this will give us the information based on this column, how many fraud and non-fraud related values that we have. So over here, if you see, you have 6.3 million rows or 63 lakh rows which is related to the non-fraud, and only 8213 rows where the fraud has happened. Now this is, as you can see, is a very highly imbalanced data set where 99% of the observations are related to no fraud or zero. How you can say that, or how I can say that it is 99%? Well, you can validate it. Dot is fraud, and I'm going to use the same function, but I will use a parameter which is normalize equals to true. So what it will give me, the same, this output, but now in terms of percentages. So 0 is 99.8709%, and where the fraud has not happened, which is, the fraud has happened, which is 0.001%. So not 0.001%, but if you 0.1%, basically, this is the actual value. So if you multiply it with 100, you will get 0.1%. So as you can see, highly imbalanced data set. So we will just try to balance it with the simple technique. What I'll do is simply try to reduce the data, because if I run any command, data visualization command or a machine learning command, it will going to take a lot of time for me to show the output. So what I'll do is I will simply create two data set. First, I will take all the fraud information and some of the non-fraud information. So first, let me create the df underscore fraud, which is I can slice it using the data dot is fraud equals to 1. That means give me all observation where fraud value is 1. That means the 8213 rows. And df underscore no fraud equals to data, same data dot is fraud equals to 0. So now you can check df underscore fraud dot shape method that 8213 rows and 8213 it is matching fine. And similarly df underscore no fraud dot shape, you will get the 6.354407, right? Because what we have taken is all the values. If you want to take the only the few values, let's say 20,000 values, so what I can use is 20,000. So head method based on the value that we provide gives us the first n rows. So in this case first 20,000 rows it will give me where the fraud has not happened. And now this approach can be a little controversial. Reason being is that I am just picking the first 20,000. Now it can be a representative of the entire data set or it cannot be representative of the entire data set, but just for this example I am doing it. So many people do a lot of sampling, different type of sampling, like normalized sampling, normalized with replacement, without replacement, so that they get the better representation of the data which can represent the entire data set. Alright, so let me execute this command and now let me check the shape. Now we have just 20,000 rows, right? So after that we will going to join these two data set and it will result somewhere around 28,213 rows. So I will give it a name, data underscore subset, and say pd dot concat, and we will say df underscore fraud comma df underscore no fraud, and we want to join by rows, so access equals to 0. So if I execute that, data underscore subset dot shape, we get 28213. So 20,000 rows from here, 8,000 rows from here. The total rows we get 28213 rows. After that you can do some data exploration, for example using the Seaborn library. So now I am importing Seaborn as I need it over here. So I am importing Seaborn as SNS, and let's create a bar plot by the column type. So for that if I show you data underscore subset dot head, it will show me first 5 observation. So the column type has the different types, payment types that was used by customers for the paying the amount. So we want to know which payment type has been used a lot, all right, by the amount that is being paid. So for that, what I can do is I can say sns dot bar plot x equals to type comma y equals to amount and data equals to data underscore subset. This is all what I need to provide to create a bar plot over here, and this gives me a beautiful bar plot, as you can see, and I can clearly understand that the transfer method and the cash out methods been used a lot for doing the payment. So this is the one observation. Now let's say I'm just copying this and pasting it over here. Now I want to see this information by the fraud that has happened. So which payment type has been used a lot when the fraud has happened, because this gives me a lot of information. So I will just add one more parameter hue, and in that I will going to write is fraud. That means the column name. So once this execute, it gives me the clear indication that the fraud, this particular orange, is over here. So in case of transfer and cash out, most of the time fraud has happened, and that really is resulting on those categories which is standing out and gives me an indication that these two categories are important whenever we are evaluating for the fraud information. Alright, so this type of crucial information is given by the data exploration. So I can explore still a lot. Let's say I want to create a box plot to understand the distribution. So I will create sns.boxplot is the command. X equals to the amount type, this type, and y equals to amount, and data is again the data underscore subset. So clearly again this indicates that there are a lot of outliers in case of transfer and cash out. There are a lot of fraud related activities that has happened within these two categories. So clearly these two categories are standing out and giving us an information that these two categories are important for our use. Now one thing what we need to do, if I show you first of all data underscore subset.info. So we have this type column as I used it in the data exploration, that this column is very important for the purpose of our data, the statistical model building, because it reveals a lot of information. So I need to convert it into a numeric column, because right now if I go up, this is the text information, and here in the Python library, the statistical modeling library scikit-learn we will going to use does not understand the textual data or the categorical textual data. So first thing is I need to convert type into category. Right now it is in object. It has to be in category so that I can apply the function which will give me the numeric categories. So first thing is convert this into the text categories from object, and then apply a one function which will give me numeric categories from the same textual categories. So for that I will say data underscore subset is equals to data underscore subset dot over here we want the column which is type, and type dot as type category. So this method will convert the type into category, and you can check it again dot info. Alright, so type is now category. Earlier it was object. Now it is easy for me to convert into a category. Before I convert into a category, as I mentioned, the name column over here, name origination, name destination, in is flagged fraud is something what is not required based on your subject matter expertise. So we need to drop it. So how we can drop? Data underscore subset dot drop, and here we will provide the name of the column, name orig, name dast, and is flagged fraud. These are the columns, and we want columns to be removed, so access equals to 1. Alright, we get an error, name origin not found. Okay, I have provided a wrong name, ORIG, name ORIG. Alright, now this is fine. So with that, let's look at the new data set. So we have this simple data set. All the categories are basically converted into numeric. Now let's convert type into numeric by using one of the pandas function. So we will create a new to basically take these values. I am creating a new object, type underscore dummy is equals to pd, which is pandas libraries alias, pd dot get underscore dummies, and data underscore subset dot type. Since we need this column to be converted into dummy variable or the numerical categorical variable, that's why I have chosen this, and this should be enough. So type underscore dummy dot head, if I show you, what it gives me is cash in, cash out, debit, payment, transfer. So for each category, for row number 2, which is this, and row number 2 is here, the payment type is transfer, right? That's why for all the rest of the categories you have 0, but only for transfer you have 1. Similarly, for row number 3, which is 3 over here, you have cash out as the payment type. That's why only for cash out over here, the payment type is indicated as 1. For rest of the categories, it is 0, and so on and so forth for the rest of the rows. Now, what we need is basically joining of this type dummy dataset and the data subset. So what we can do is, we will say data underscore subset equals to pd.concat, and in that data underscore subset need to be concatenated with type underscore dummy. Okay, and x is equals to 1 because we want to join the columns. Earlier, if you remember, we used the x is equals to 0 because we wanted to join by rows. All right, so let's execute this, and now let's check our head of this. Now you have the new columns over here: cash in, cash out, payment, debit, transfer, and this type column is not required. So what I'll do is, instead of dropping it from here, and I need to create the x and y variables for the machine learning. So what I'll do is, I'll just create one x variable, and I will say data underscore subset dot drop. I need to drop 2 columns. One is this target variable which we need to predict. It should not be the part of our x dataset, which is a training data, because we want to predict it. So I will say is fraud, comma, the type, because we have all the type values over here, cash in, cash out, right? And I will say x is equals to 1. All right. So what it will do, it will drop these 2 columns and give you the rest of the columns. So I will use the values method to get those values converted into an array and stored it within x. So if I just show you this, so x dot sorry, it does not use the x. So what it does is basically an array. Now all the values are converted into an array because I use the values method over here. So first it dropped 2 values, returned rest of the rows, which is step, amount, old balance, new balance, old balance dash, new balance dash, and these columns. It has returned those, and then values converted into an array, because machine learning algorithm going to take only the array. Now if I say y is nothing but the target variable, so data underscore subset dot is fraud. This is the target column, that's why we are taking this is fraud, and again dot values, because we need the arrays. All right, so it will not give you any issue. And now we need to basically split the dataset into training and testing. So for that, we will import the library from sklearn.model_selection. We need to import the train test split. Okay, now we will create 4 variables: x underscore train, x underscore test, y underscore train, comma, y underscore test. These 4 variables, train, x train and y train, will going to help in training the data using the model logistic regression, and testing. Test data is basically a hold out data set, or a data set that you have kept it away, which the model has not seen, so that once we test the model, we will going to provide this test data or the unseen data to check how well the model is doing. All right. After that, we use the function train test split x comma y, this x and this y, and then we will create a test size of 0.3. That means the 30% values will be in the X test and Y test as a testing data set. We will say random underscore state equals to 10. You can give any number. So 10 will make sure that if you are using the random state 10, you will also get the similar output like I am getting. Now here we have this particular method basically give you the normal sampling of data, or so based on the normal sampling it will put the values in the X train, X test, Y train and Y test, so that it's a mix. It's not like you are getting first 10 rows or last 10 rows, but a random sampling of data. Another way or another method is stratify equals to yes, which makes sure that the target value has an equal representation or a good representation is both training and testing, just to make sure that there is not a problem of imbalancing. All right, so if I execute this, this has been executed and we have these 4 variables now, which we can use it in the algorithm. Now let's import the algorithm from the sklearn linear models. So here from sklearn import linear underscore model. In that we will going to say log underscore rag equals to linear underscore model dot logistic regression. All right, so we are giving the default parameter, and now we will use the X train and Y train to train the dataset with the training dataset. So log underscore rag dot fit the model on the training data X underscore train comma Y underscore train X underscore train. So this is a warning, so we can right now just ignore this warning, but what it has given us is basically all the parameters that by default it takes to train the algorithm. All right, so once we have this, we can now check how accurate our model is based on the testing data set. So log rag dot score method will give us the accuracy score of the model, so which is nothing but providing the testing data. So X underscore test comma Y underscore test. So what we get is basically 86.5% as an accuracy on the test data, which is quite nice if you would ask me. That with default parameters we have not done any parameter tuning or anything. So without that, if we get 86% or 86.6%, if I round it to 1 decimal, then this is a quite good output. But generally you don't get this good output in the real data. If you are lucky, you can get it, because this shows that something is presentable for our management and we can give and interpret the values and give the presentation. But generally you will have somewhere around 50 to 60% as an accuracy, and you need to further improve it by tuning the different parameters. So one of the parameters, if you see it over here, is basically the penalty over here. So right now penalty is level L2. So there are 2 different penalty parameters, which is L1 penalty and L2 penalty. So what I'll do is I will just try with the penalty, which is L1. So these 2 different L1 and L2, this is also called regularization method, and probably you may need to read it because that require altogether different presentation or the tutorial. So right now I am just going ahead and directly using L1, but I'll post one video where I will talk about the L1 and L2 regularization techniques if you not already know. So for that I will say log underscore rag underscore L1 equals to linear model dot logistic regression, and I will say penalty equals to L1. All right, and then we can fit like this: log underscore rag x underscore train comma y underscore train, sorry, log rag underscore L1 linear model over here, execute. Okay, so logistic regression object is not callable, probably because I have used the penalty as L1, but ideally this should not give any issue because we are just tuning the parameter. So what we are not probably doing, yeah, fit is something what we need to provide. Now it's done. So now I can check the accuracy score. So log underscore rag underscore L1 dot score x underscore test comma y underscore test. And now if you see, the accuracy has jumped to 99.5% just by changing the penalty from L2, which was the default, to L1. This is a huge improvement into the scores, because what it does is it penalizes the L1, penalizes those variables which does not really contribute and remove it. So it's in a way is a parameter selection technique as well. If you would ask me, if you would read it, it's a parameter selection technique as well, because it penalizes or may remove the variables which does not add any contribution. So this is a significant improvement in our model. And I will show you one more parameter which is mentioned over here as c equals to 1. So this parameter is basically the inverse regularization strength, and we can check for different values of c whether they contribute for us. So what we can do over here is using the grid search CV. So grid search is basically a technique for searching the best parameters for the model. So how we can basically use it? So first of all, we need to import the grid search CV from the library. So from sklearn dot model underscore selection, you need to import the grid search CV. Once you have imported it, initialize this grid equals to grid search CV, and we will going to use this log underscore rag underscore L1, and let's see if further improves anything or not. So now within the curly brackets, we will provide the dictionary where for value c, what are the different values in a list. So let's say 0.001 comma 0.01 comma 0.1, and then finally let's say 10. We have already seen the result by the value 1, so that's why I'm not using it. Okay, so if I go ahead and initialize that, it's initialized. And now what we do is use the fit grid.fit on the training data x underscore train y underscore train, and it gives us some warning based on how it performs it. So it has done the grid search CV on the dataset that we provided. Now let's see the grid best parameter using the best params method. So c equals to 10 is basically the best parameter. I think it also gives the best score. So what is the best score? 99.57 or 99.58. What we got earlier is similar, 99.5746, and if we see over here 99.5797. so some more 0.05% further improvement into the data into this using the grid search c equals to 10. Now up to us whether we want to use it or not. Ideally I would not use it because this is even below than marginal improvement, but sometimes because if it provides a huge improvement, you may want to use it. So these are some of the ways by which you can tune the parameters. You could have like I have used the C over here where it has gone, like I have used the C. You could have taken both L1 and L2 over here for the regularization. Also you can play with the different parameter, right? But just remember that it takes a lot of time. If I would have used the entire 6.3 million rows, it would have taken hours for me to run this. So it is very resource intensive, and that's why use it with caution and use it whenever it is really required. If you know some of the technique, like I used penalty equals to L2 or L1, then you just go ahead and use it, because this will run pretty fast. And you could see that when I used L1, we got huge improvement. And but if you want to still experiment, because there are like lot of parameters you want to play with, or it require for you to further improve your score, you can specify the parameters like this: the parameter name, which is C in this case, and their respective value. Similarly, you can check with the rest of the other parameters how you want to tune it based on your specific problem, because every parameter is basically useful in a different scenario. But Grid Search CV gives us a lot of flexibility where we can try out with these different parameters. Now it's all about supplying the value to the predict function. Now once you have identified the best parameters and the best scores, or let's say you have created a model. For example, let's say we have this logreg1 as the model, and we want to predict the new values. So what we can do is we can get x underscore new as the new values, and just to take it as a reference, what we can do is I can say data underscore subset dot head. So there are like some of the few values, and the values we need to take is this one, this one, not this one, but then cache in, cache out, and all. Alright, so let's say x underscore new is equals to within the two brackets, because that's how the predict will going to pick the value, as it needs to be the 2D array. So the value is, let's say we have 1, since most of the steps it has 1, and then you have some value for amount 2500, comma some amount for old balance, maybe 150, comma 150 for the new balance, 0 0 0 for, let's say, these three columns, 0 comma 0 comma 0, and then finally 1 2 3 4 more zeros. So 1 2 3 4 comma 1. As we are specifying, the transfer should be 1. So once we have this, we can say, where it has gone, let me convert it into code. It's something wrong over here. So B, alright, log underscore reg L1 dot predict x underscore new. Alright, what it is, x has 12 features, we are expecting 11. I think I have given one more feature. So for that, what I'll do is I will just rerun this command and remove this. So 1, and then amount is 2500, 150. Okay, new balance, let's say 150 over here. Then 3 zeros. So I have amount and old balance 150, then 0 0 and 0 for these three columns. So 0 0 0, and then after that 1 2 3 4 5, 0 0 1 2 3 4 5. So overall, what I believe is I am giving the correct value. But let me just try to satisfy this requirement, and it predicts 0. So somewhere, let me just print the x underscore test, capital X, where it has the values. Maybe just first or the second value that it has. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that means I was somewhere giving the 12th value as incorrect. But just wanted to give you an idea about how you will predict it. Now we can probably take one more value, x underscore new equals to let's say 555 as the first value. Another value is 697765, which indicates the amount and old balance, and then 0, 0, 0 for this, 0, 0, 0 for the new balance, old balance and the new balance, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. So I'm just counting again that it should have 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So ideally it should work. Now log underscore reg L1 dot predict x underscore new. So in this case, in earlier case it was no fraud, so 0 we got, and now in this case we have got the fraud value. So this is a manual way, but you will get the value in a data set which you can convert it into a two-dimensional array that we have converted earlier, and then use it in the predict function. It will give you the output for all the values that you have. So that's about how you can do the prediction by either providing manual or the dataset value. If it is a dataset, you need to convert it into a 2D array so that it can pick it and give you the prediction. But that's about it in this entire case study, and I hope you will be able to utilize it now and able to clearly understand the logistic regression method. So I will now meet you in the new video with a new algorithm.